what do the brands stand for?
Yeah.
What do they do? And how do they want to be known to that TikTok audience? And so with Gorton's, we wanted to hone in on product, personality, and purpose.
Welcome to Made for TikTok Talking Creative, a show featuring inspirational conversations with creative leaders who have mastered the art of producing TikTok content and continue to raise the bar for the advertising industry. I'm Jordan, Creative Agency Partnerships Lead at TikTok, and today is all about community and co-creation. Gorton's Seafood is an iconic legacy brand that won the inaugural Best Use of TikTok Award at the 2023 Ad Age Small Agency Awards. The agency behind this award-winning work is Conelly Partners, and Alyssa Stevens, Conelly's Director of Social Media and Influencer Marketing, is here to tell us how the work all came together. Thank you for joining us today, Alyssa.
Thank you for having me, Jordan.
Yes, a pop of color. I love it. You're bringing in the energy, the good vibes.
You know, the vibes of TikTok. I'm trying to create that energy that TikTok brings to so many of our viewers.
Yes. So before we get into all things TikTok, I'm always curious about everyone's personal journey into the industry. What attracted you to the advertising industry? How'd you get started?
Sure. So I started actually in traditional public relations when I graduated from college. I went to Northeastern University in Boston and went in as a publicist at a consumer lifestyle agency, was working on a number of consumer brands as well as travel and beauty. And then from there, social media came on the scene, and all of our clients who were working with us for earned media coverage said, hey, can you launch us on Facebook? Can we create a Twitter account? Mm-hmm. So we started managing that for them. And then when Instagram came on the scene, we had influencers emerge. And that has just been such a fascinating industry that has evolved from traditional PR to social media to now utilizing content creators to communicate our clients' messages, much like we used to do in the PR world where we would pitch. We're pitching influencers and they have such a trust with their audience that we're able to leverage them for their word of mouth to their trusted audience.
I love that. So PR to social to creator economy.
Exactly.
I love that trajectory. I also did a little bit of research, and I hear that you do a bit of morning TV in Boston. How did you get into that as well?
Well, the creator economy in terms of my career has also been a personal passion of mine as well. So in 2016, I created a lifestyle blog called The A-List, where I round up different lifestyle content as well as travel content. Really love to travel. So I try to leverage my love for writing and my love of travel and communicate that to followers on the blog. And from there, was able to then tap into the local TV market and go on with on-air segments showcasing a number of different products and communicating their benefits.
I can feel it. I can feel that on-air persona coming from you, and I'm so excited to have this interview because you have so much energy and it's going to resonate for the viewers. So when it comes to TikTok, how much time are you spending on the platform? Let's say on a given week.
I feel like that's the money question. On a given week, I would say several hours. Now, that may vary depending on when my husband or my friends are sending me content that they think I'm going to love. So then I get down the rabbit hole of watching what they send me. But I'm on there several hours a week, and I want to really make sure that I'm understanding what's happening on there, whether it's the latest trend or a music that's happening that everyone's creating content around, so that then I can go communicate to my clients what they should be doing on behalf of our brands.
That's an incredible point. We preach that to creative agencies all the time to make sure that they're getting on the platform and they're just seeing the content that's there. It's only going to make them smarter when they start to work on these TikTok campaigns and content strategies. Out of curiosity, what's showing up on your For You page?
Ooh, good question. On my For You page, I feel like it's a mix of luxury fashion and shopping. So I'm very excited about the new features that TikTok is rolling out with shopping inside the app. I'm sure I'm going to be very dangerous in terms of consuming more and more of that content and then clicking through and buying. But I'm also getting a lot of crime talk. I love true crime. So that's something that I always go down the rabbit hole to.
Yeah.
And infinity pools. I love a good travel destination. So I feel like now TikTok knows that, and I'm getting Thailand and exotic locales where these amazing destinations and resorts are calling my name to book a trip.
Did you get any new ideas on where you might want to travel next from TikTok?
That's a great question. I've been trying to check off my bucket list of all of these pools. So this has been like a project for the last few years.
Yeah.
But in the future, I think Thailand's on my list. I haven't done anything in Asia.
Okay.
Done quite a bit of Europe. Love that. I'm a repeat offender of going to Italy and France. Those are my two top picks. But I want to expand my horizons and my TikTok content and dive into one of those infinity pools in Thailand.
Yes, I vote for Phuket. That was the last infinity pool that I was in over there.
Okay.
So let's get into what your team is doing at Conelly Partners. Really, really impressive work. When our teams were evaluating the entries, the Gorton's Seafood campaign really stuck out to us, obviously, as you all won that award. Starting before that campaign even launched, what was that process like? Because Gorton's Seafood is a legacy brand, over 170 years old. They had no followers or no profile or presence on TikTok before they came to Conelly Partners. How do you even know where to start, where you're figuring out what the presence is going to be? What does that process look like?
Sure. So we've worked with Gorton's Seafood for a number of years as their agency of record, but you're right that they weren't on TikTok. And what we did is we started to work with influencers and content creators on the platform. And that came to life in just fun recipe content where they were showcasing different use cases for the product.
Yeah.
And then once they saw that it was resonating with their intended audience, we were able to have them take the plunge and actually create a TikTok page for them. And when we launched that, we wanted to make sure that we were putting who that brand was at the forefront. And I think that's what's so interesting about brands starting to go on to TikTok and creating their own presence there is, what do the brands stand for?
Yeah.
What do they do? And how do they want to be known to that TikTok audience? And so with Gorton's, we wanted to hone in on product, personality, and purpose. And that is where we brought to life the TikTok content for them, utilizing the power of content creators on the platform.
So you kind of use the creator-led content almost kind of like a test and learn opportunity to figure out like how people are responding to the Gorton's brand on the platform, and then took those insights and built out a more robust, enduring, long-standing content strategy. Is that the process?
That's exactly what we did. So we tested the waters with the influencers and had them create a number of different types of content for us. And then once we saw what was working, we then built a strategy around that and those three content pillars: the product, the purpose, and the personality. And we also are powering that page through content creators, because the content that does best on TikTok is creator-first content. And so we want to make sure that we're really creating content for Gorton's that's going to break through the noise on social media and on TikTok.
So you just kind of touched on it, saying that creator-led content is really impactful on TikTok specifically. When you started getting into the process of creating content for Gorton's, did you notice a difference in how you approach that creative process versus maybe some other platforms? Like, what were some of those nuances from, coming up with a TikTok campaign versus something else?
So I think it comes down to understanding what works and what doesn't on the platform. And so as senior strategists and influencer marketing experts, we want to make sure that we understand the content that performs the best on TikTok and then lead our clients in that direction. And what we were seeing is that it could be a bit unpolished. And that was a place that we could take risks with our clients and not have that cookie cutter beautiful recipe photos that we were doing. We could bring that recipe to life in a quirkier or a fun way that was a bit unexpected. So that way we could reach our audience and show them, hey, Gorton's is a brand for you, and here they are on TikTok. So we're able to personify the brand through this page that we created for them.
So you mentioned lo-fi content or unpolished content being something that performs particularly well on TikTok. I'm curious to know, did that play a role in your decision to introduce the Gorton's Seafood brand to a younger audience? Is that why you all decided to focus specifically on TikTok?
So I think it was a mix of leaning into the creator-first approach that TikTok has really pushed forward. We want to support the creator economy. We believe in it. We have seen these creators rise the ranks over the last few years and really make a living on TikTok. So we want to support that while also creating content that is going to resonate with our core audience as well as this younger audience that we're trying to attract. And so we found this lower fi content and this content that didn't feel as cookie cutter and as polished as perhaps what we're doing on other social platforms be the way in. And that's how we created the content that is on Gordon's TikTok channel.
You know, I have to admit that the content is very relatable. So as someone who grew up with Gordon's seafood, my mother made the fish sticks for me all the time. I'm looking at the content now as an adult, you know, in my mom's age at that time. And I look at the content, I'm like, wow, she really fell in love with this brand because it was easy for her to manage as a single mother who was working and then had to come home and prepare dinner. And what I noticed is that a lot of the content is very educational and very accessible. And so I'm curious, was that insight derived from any of the early testing that you did to like want to move a little bit further into that educational space?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head with that. So we wanted to show that you don't have to sacrifice great taste for convenience, that you can be that busy mom or that college student that's looking for a great healthy meal that you can put on the table and not have to have, you know, your chef hat on, that you can make it and still have it be something that your kids want to enjoy or that you want to enjoy for yourself. So when we were looking to the content that we were putting out on TikTok, we wanted to show the various use cases. So for someone like me that loves to go out to eat and is always trying the new restaurant in town, I'm going to look for a dish that's a bit more foodie forward. And guess what? Gordon's can do that. But we needed to utilize creators and the creativity that they bring to the table to show how those meals can come to life in just a really easy to digest content form.
How are you bridging the gap with people who may not be familiar? So I grew up in a Gordon's household, but maybe for a TikTok user who isn't familiar with the brand, what was the strategy to be able to talk to those users?
I think it comes back to when we set the stage for how we wanted to launch them on TikTok, it was that purpose, that personality, and that product. So what are the products? If you don't know Gordon's, you have no background information, then we need to share what we're all about. And that's delicious frozen seafood that can be made in a meal, but it can also be eaten and enjoyed on its own. But then we also wanted to show what our commitment was to purpose and sustainability efforts, because today's consumer isn't just purchasing a product off the shelves without any research. They're going to want to know what that brand stands for. And so we're utilizing TikTok to communicate that. And then last, how is that brand showcasing who they are in terms of their personality, and what better place to do that than TikTok? And we were able to lean into more skip-based creators and TikTok creators that have that energy that we want to create for the brand and leverage their content to showcase what Gordon's is all about, so that when you're scrolling through your feed, it doesn't necessarily feel like a brand that's speaking to you. It feels like a friend that you're following, and hopefully then we incentivize them to go to the freezer aisle on their next grocery store trip and pick up the box of Gordon's seafood or the bag of Gordon's seafood.
A lot of really great insights for marketers who are looking to introduce a brand onto the platform without having a presence on there before. I want to get into the campaign because you all did some very exciting work, but we're just going to take a brief moment and then we'll be right back.
Struggling to find the right creators? Engagement playing hard to get? Lost in a sea of options? Then try Brand Admission. Creativity on TikTok is boundless, and we're here to help you tap into that. Today, we're excited to bring you a new way for brands and creative agencies to partner with creators. Brands invite creators with a brief. Eligible creators join and submit up to 3 videos.
Brand spotlights the best videos as sponsored ads.
Selected creators cash out and your brand gets a boost. It's a win-win. Check out this happy customer's face before and after Brand Admission. Now that's the face of an advertiser whose TikToks reach massive new audiences with their creative crew. Ready for your next mission? We got you. Contact your TikTok representative to get started today.
All right, so let's talk about this award-winning campaign work that you did that captured so many of the hearts and minds of TikTok users and those on my team as well. What was the campaign? How did it go from start to finish? Just walk us through it.
I think it all started with integration, and that's integration within the agency itself. Conelly Partners is an integrated marketing agency. I lead that social and influencer department, as we had talked about, but we also have creative analytics, media. And so how can all of those parts work together to benefit the client? And so when we were looking at how we wanted to launch Gorton's Seafood on TikTok, we wanted to make sure it was an integrated approach that really could engage both their core audience, but also that younger consumer, that coveted consumer that TikTok has such a strong hold on. And so from there, we wanted to design what the content lanes were to create the TikTok channel. We discuss product, purpose, and personality, the 3 Ps as we like to call it. And then how do we extend that to actually launch a brand new product on TikTok? So Gorton's in the winter of 2023 was launching an air fried product, really light, crispy, fantastic addition to their product lineup. And so we did a traditional creative campaign that came to life with different assets such as a TV commercial, but we also wanted to lean into the power of the creator economy and TikTok to also tease out what we were doing. And so it started with creating a teaser and reveal campaign utilizing our trusted creators. And they gave just a little nod to what was coming down the pipeline for Gorton's and then ultimately revealing it. So that was that buildup of excitement.
Yeah.
We also did an AR filter, which was super fun. I don't know about you, but I'm always testing out the different filters on TikTok.
I love AR filters, yeah.
So much fun. And so this is a way that we can engage that consumer even further and show that integration between our departments. So from there, we created this light as air, breath as fresh air filter where we had the air fried product flying through the air and you gamified how many you could catch in your mouth. And then when you crunched down and grabbed it, it showcased those product attributes that were really ownable to that product and also to the brand. And so that was that next extension. And then of course we worked with a number of different influencers, from fantastic micro influencers to more mega influencers, to create just broad brand awareness for the brand, and measured that all with a brand lift study that said, hey, yeah, you had great impressions and engagements, but guess what? Your target audience that you were trying to reach actually loved this content. And when they go to the grocery store, they're going to be more incentivized to go in the seafood aisle, frozen seafood, and pick up Gorton's, because that TikTok campaign and all of the elements that you put together, that integrated approach, resonated with them.
So this was a very impressive campaign, and one of my personal favorite elements of this campaign was the AR filter, because I think so many creative agencies and brands, they don't always think about co-creation and how that factors into the overall journey of consumers. Can you just talk a little bit about the thought behind creating an AR filter and having that be a part of the campaign?
I think when we're launching a brand's product, we want to make sure that we are hitting our consumers at every touch point. And since TikTok was going to be the main vehicle for that launch, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just showing up in their feed with influencers, and it wasn't just this teaser reveal campaign with nods to the Gorton's Fisherman and pops of yellow, but that when they were then going into the AR filters and searching for what the latest ingredients are, they could see that we also were gamifying it. So it's another way that we're hitting that consumer and keeping the brand and this new product top of mind. The branded AR filters are a fantastic way that TikTok is leveraging all aspects of that consumer journey. And with this, we found that people just loved getting in there and trying to catch these air fried products in the air. And when they then go to the grocery store, it's keeping it top of mind because they've seen it in so many different spots within their TikTok feed.
You talk a lot about content creators and their role, not only in this campaign, but just in the overall Gorton's content strategy. And I know you all have a Gorton's creator team, like a designated group of content creators who create content on behalf of Gorton's. Can you talk to me about how that came about? Who made that decision to move forward with that? How did you select the creators?
When we were evaluating TikTok as a channel for this brand as well as our other clients, we knew that we needed to produce a content stream that was truly unique to TikTok. And because TikTok is a creator-first platform, we decided that we wanted to put our time and our energy and our creative control into TikTok creators. And so we developed a content creator team across the content pillars that we outlined for the client and had them do what they do best: create really engaging, educational, informational content and bring the brand to life through these unique voices. We believe in the power of the creator economy. More and more creators are popping up on the scene. TikTok supports the creator economy. And so we wanted to showcase that the brand supports them, but also understands that the content they create is really what people want to consume on the platform, so that it looks and feels natural to what they're already seeing when they open up the app.
You mentioned that you wanted to give content creators the creative freedom to create that content. I find that sometimes brands or agencies can be a bit more prescriptive in what they want to see from the content creators because we're so used to working with talent and actors, right? How did that process work? Do you just give them a brief and just let them have fun and then just see the video and make any sort of small edits? Like, what's that process like?
When we did this for Gorton's, we wanted to make sure that we were not being too prescriptive what we were putting out there, but at the same time having some guardrails in place so that they could hit on key messaging points, whether it was about the product or the brand. And so when we created the brief, we kept it fairly open-ended, but really invited those creators into the ideation process. And I think that's where the magic happens, is we're not in this corner and you're not in this corner, but hey, we're all working towards that same purpose. So how can we create really amazing content for a brand that showcases what we want to showcase on behalf of the brand, but also is staying true to that creator as well as staying true to what works on TikTok. And I found that when we worked with the content creators teams, we scoured the internet for them. We searched with the TikTok creator marketplace. We used our software Maverick to look for influencers. We even searched hashtags and topic matter related to what we were trying to find. And from there, we found the best possible people that we could activate around Gorton's so that when we went to brief them, we felt confident in who they were and then allowing them to just shine through their content. It's always a bit of test and learn.
Yeah.
So you don't have to feel like you're married to whoever you work with, but engage a team that you feel is going to be able to communicate what your content pillars are and the strategy and the look and feel of the page that you want to put forth. And then from there, you can always tweak it based on what's performing and what's not performing, and know that it's a process that's fluid. And as a brand dives deeper into the realm of TikTok, they can always change up their creators and change up their approach. And that's what's so fantastic about this platform, is it just continues to grow and evolve, and so should a client strategy.
Yeah, outside of the campaign metrics like views and engagement and things like that, what do you think is the benefit of having creators part of the creative process internally at an agency?
We could spend hours internally at our agency trying to figure out what's going to hit home with our target audience for the brands that we work with. But when we invite those creators who are either in our target audience or we know has a following that's within our target audience and ask them what they think is going to work, it opens up a whole nother stream of ideas and creativity.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just allowing that process to be a bit more open-ended than in years past when you were doing a traditional creative campaign. We have to know who we want to work with, how we want to work with them, and then allow them to be part of that ideation so that you can put forth the best possible content for your clients because they know what works on the platform. They're so creative, they're so energetic. So let them shine, let them do their thing within reason.
At what point are you bringing in creators? Are you bringing them, like, as soon as you're getting a brief from Gorton's, are you like calling up the creator team and say, like, let's have a kickoff meeting and let's bring you in? Or are you kind of hammering out sort of those high level strategies and then bringing them in when the idea is a bit more baked?
Almost in the same way back in my PR world that we would create an editorial calendar for clients. We're doing the same way on social with TikTok. And from there, we're figuring out how do we create content that leverages into product availability, seasonality of the product, TikTok trends. So then you have to be a little bit more fluid because those come and go like any fad. And so then allowing the content creators to come into that once we figure out what those themes are. We like to work with creators on more of a long-term basis. I think there is something that happens when they know the brand in a deeper way. One-off campaigns can be fantastic because you can rent their audience, but when you're looking for someone that's really going to be an extension of the brand's team and create content for that brand, you want them to feel like they belong to the brand. And so we've looked to the creators for more ambassador type program where we are briefing them on a continuous basis once that strategy and that editorial social calendar is set.
So you had a branded effect that allow users to interact, have a two-way dialogue with the brand and interact with the brand in a way that, you know, a video couldn't normally do. You have this group of content creators who are educated on the brand and are able to make content that feels on brand, it feels like it's trustworthy, and most importantly, it's relevant. What are some of the key insights that you received from the brand lift study? I'm just so curious to hear how all of this sort of helped Gorton's business.
any industry professional will tell you that the pain point in the influencer marketing world has been measurement. And that has definitely evolved over the last few years, but we still want to make sure that we're able to attribute that recall for a brand, that interest in a brand to influencers when we're investing in them, especially on a platform like TikTok. So we enlisted the help of Group RFC to do an influencer-specific brand lift study so that we could say, hey, yes, we got amazing impressions and engagements, and this content really resonated with our desired consumer. But guess what? It also increased their trust. It made them feel like the brand was a brand that they wanted to buy. It gave them a lift in favorability and familiarity to the brand. And so at the end of the day, when we were able to present internally as well as to our client and say, this influencer campaign and this TikTok campaign that we did actually did all of these different things with your intended consumer, both purchasers and non-purchasers, it makes that come to life and really become a tangible thing that they're going to want to invest more time and more dollars in. And I think as the industry evolves, influencer marketing, social media marketing, we're going to see more and more brands realize the power of measurement beyond just what's happening in the social feed.
How are you seeing future projects with Gordon being impacted? Are they asking for more TikTok ideas? Are you taking some of those learnings and revitalizing your entire creative approach across all your clients? Like, what are you taking away from this campaign?
I think that as an agency and as a brand, whether it's Gorton's or another brand that we work with, we're realizing the power of engaging the consumer where they're actually consuming content. And where that is very different than it was years ago. Mm-hmm. And much of that is happening on TikTok. And so how do we create a strategy that perhaps is a bit more social first, but still doesn't alienate our core audience who may be still consuming media in more of those traditional mediums? And I think it's a perfect blend of having that integration within the agency so that your creative and your social departments are talking, they're ideating together, they're bringing the creators into the fold so that they can create a campaign that is going to continue to reinvent the brand, showcase it in a new way, and really make it pop on someone's TikTok page.
So my final question for you is, what advice would you have for brands or creative agencies who are trying to do just that, right? They're trying to reintroduce their brand to a new audience, and they're trying to get people excited about their brand. What advice do you have for them?
I think it's first laying that foundation. What do you want to be known for on social media, on TikTok specifically, and who are you trying to reach? Thinking about what all of those elements are before you dive first into a strategy is really where you should begin. And I think it comes down to creating content pillars that align with showcasing who you are and what you stand for and what you do. Mm-hmm. So that when you launch a TikTok channel or you invest in influencer marketing for influencers on TikTok, you know what you're all about, because authenticity is key. That's such a buzzword right now, but it's true. You're leveraging this platform to reach a whole new audience, an audience that you're trying to bring into the brand to become long-lasting consumers. They're going to see right through it if it feels contrived. And that's all going to come down to how sound your strategy is and how sound your relationships with the influencers and the content creators are that you're using to leverage that messaging. And so I would say baby steps first. Figure out what that strategy, that foundation is, and then test things out. You don't have to be married to one strategy, one content type, one content creator. Try many different avenues and then figure out what works best and what's getting the likes and the engagements from your audience, and then do more of that. And TikTok just continues to evolve. And as a partner with TikTok, we have just been fascinated by how we're able to not only reach that consumer, but really showcase our brands in a whole new way, a way for the future.
One of the things that's making my ears perk up is that I'm hearing you use the term influencer and creator. I'm just curious from your perspective, is there a difference between the two? What is the difference? How are you at Conelly Partners deciphering between those two?
You're right. We are utilizing them a bit interchangeably, but I also see two distinctions. So when I say the word influencer, I mean someone that we are actually leveraging for their audience. Most likely they have a following that is broad. Maybe it's super niche too, but in that sense, we want to leverage them for who is actually following them and rent that audience on behalf of our brand through the content that they create. When I say content creator, it's oftentimes just activating them for their content. They know what works best in the social platforms. They have an eye for the style and the aesthetic, whether it's short form video or on other platforms, static content. And so we're utilizing them not to post on their own channels, but just to give us the content that's going to be in that creator first lens. Now, many times influencers are also content creators, and so that's where we see them cross paths. But I think for a brand to be effective on social media and really in the general marketing world in today's day and age, you have to have a setup that has both an influencer-led strategy as well as a content-first creator strategy. So you're leveraging the influencer for their audience, also their content, but then you're also leveraging influencer assets and content creators just for their content, which you can put on your own social TikTok feeds, on your brand's website, in your marketing materials. So that's how we're utilizing them at Conelly Partners.
Thank you for sharing. I'm always so curious to hear what people have to say about that, because internally, when we use the term creators, we're talking about people who are doing it all. You know, they're coming up with the strategy, they're copywriting and writing the scripts, they are shooting it, they're editing it. And so hearing you tell the difference is kind of similar to what we're talking about a little bit at TikTok. And so thank you for sharing that. I'm always curious to know what creative agencies, the terminology they're being used. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Alyssa.
Thank you for having me.
If you work at a creative agency and are looking for support on your next TikTok brief, scan the QR code on the screen or tap the link in our description to connect with the Creative Agency Partnerships team. I'm Jordan. Thank you for tuning in.